Many people say you are what you think. And this idea may sound simple, but it actually reflects exactly how our brain works when it comes to repeated thoughts. My name is Daisy, and today I will be informing you about the psychology of robotic affirmations. Many people struggle with negative thoughts or self doubt, but what many people don't realize is that repetition and repeated thoughts actually start to shape the way we start to automatically think. Through research in psychology and neuroscience, I have learned that the brain changes and adapts through repeated thoughts and experiences. Today, I will be talking about the psychology of robotic affirmations. I will explain how neuroplasticity, the subconscious mind, and repetition influence thoughts and self esteem. To begin, I will explain how the brain changes through neuroplasticity and how repetition helps form new thought patterns. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to change and form new pathways based on repeated thoughts and experiences, and this is exactly the principle behind why robotic affirmations are able to shape our thinking. The brain adapts through repeated input that it is constantly being exposed to. As explained in an article by Leon Ho, he explains it by saying that our mind is like a landscape crisscrossed with pathways. Every thought you have, every belief you hold is like a trail in our mental terrain. He says that the more you think a certain way, the more established this path starts to become. This directly connects to the fact that repetition strengthens neural pathways in the brain, allowing thoughts to become more automatic over time. And all of this helps explain how thoughts can become patterns and reshape our thinking. Next, I will discuss how repetition affects brain activity and processing. Repetition affects brain activity by making thoughts easier and more automatic to process over time, which shows how the repeated statements in robotic affirmations can actually start to rewire the brain. Research shows that repetition changes brain activity, allowing it not to have to work as hard to process specific thoughts. According to a study published by Frontiers in Human Neuroscience, repeated processing of a stimulus is associated with decreased responses in various brain regions, and this leads to reduced neural activity, meaning that the brain becomes more efficient with repetition, and it doesn't have to work as hard to see repeated stimuli as something that is familiar or something that is true. To explain more in depth, this reduced neural activity happens in areas of the brain such as the prefrontal cortex and the temporal cortex. And these areas of the brain are involved in memory and thinking, which ties into why repeated stimuli is able to turn into regular or usual thought patterns or memories. Finally, I will explain how repeated thoughts and experiences influence our subconscious mind and self esteem, and how robotic affirmations use this process but to create positive change. Repeated thoughts become automatic, shaping our subconscious, which is the part of our mind that runs automatic thoughts and beliefs. This can influence our self esteem over time, and that is how robotic affirmations work. For example, if we take repeated verbal abuse, someone who has been consistently exposed to negative statements about themselves, their brain starts to rewire toward low self esteem, which shows how repeated statements, whether positive or negative, can start to affect subconscious beliefs. Now, robotic affirmations are intentionally repeated positive statements that the brain begins to adopt as automatic with consistency over time. This shows how choosing the thoughts we repeat through robotic affirmations can influence how we feel about ourselves and end up influencing our self esteem over time. In conclusion, the psychology behind robotic affirmations shows that our thoughts are not as fixed as they may seem. Through neuroplasticity, repetition, and automatic thought patterns, the brain is constantly changing and adapting and adapting based off what we repeatedly think and expose ourselves to. As discussed, neuroplasticity explains how the brain forms pathways, and repetition can make those thoughts more automatic. And over time, those thoughts can start to shape our subconscious and influence our self-esteem. This is why robotic affirmations can be something that is very powerful. They use the same process that can create negative beliefs, but in a positive way, helping you become what you think, but positively. So next time you catch yourself repeating a thought, remember that what you consistently tell yourself can not only shape your mindset, but shape your brain as well. Thank you.